What up, though? It is another episode of Knockouts and Three Counts. I almost said another Tuesday or Thursday, but we're coming at you with a special episode with our sponsors, Mitten Muay Thai, talking about one of the most exciting sports in the world of combat sports. But before I get to that, I got to tell you about the homies over at Potter's Tree Service. If you are in the need of tree removal, tree trimming, chipping service, storm damage cleanup, walnut logging, Potter's Tree Service is the way to go. Tell Asa that we sent you. Shout out to Asa Potter, Potter's Tree Service, all the stuff you need over there. You don't need Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Asa Potter will take care of it. As you can see with the chipper, just get somebody who knows what they're doing. Those things can be dangerous, and enjoy the show.
This is the Ring of Honor, a.k.a. Shane T, boy, the baddest champion you ever seen, boy.
This is Mr. Anderson.
This is good old JR Jim Rock, and you are listening.
You're listening to Knockouts and Three Counts.
Cover! We got a new world champion!
That might be one of the craziest knockouts I've ever seen in my life.
Knockouts and Three Counts is the podcast leading to the real deal, baby!
Knockouts and Three Counts starts now.
Ooh, what up, though? It is another episode of Knockouts and Three Counts, and man, this day switch has got me all out of the funk. I'm going through my normal rap, and I was about to say it's a Tuesday or Thursday, but it ain't. It's a Wednesday. But this is Knockouts and Three Counts, and like I said, we're going to be talking about some Muay Thai tonight, specifically Mitten Muay Thai, and to do that, we got the homie Phil joining us, making his debut on the show. Brother, man, appreciate the time and appreciate the support of the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on.
No problem, man. No problem. Like I said, appreciate y'all supporting the show. I'm looking forward to making my commentary debut in another sport, doing it in some kickboxing now. I'm looking forward to seeing some of the action. Shout out to our guy, Jerry Vergana, who was doing some of the picture taking at the last event. He was telling me nothing but good things. So if you're anywhere near the area, you need to come to the Imperial House May 3rd. Check out some Muay Thai. And I promise you, you're going to have a good time. And you can laugh at my dumbass. So, in the meantime and in between time, let's talk Mitten Muay Thai, man. So, first of all, talk to me a little bit about your background with everything and what made you want to get into having your own promotion in the first place.
So, originally, I was competing in Muay Thai. And when I went to fight, the Muay Thai wasn't sanctioned here in Michigan. So if I went to fight, I would have to go fight in Chicago and Indiana. And so that was obviously a headache. And then they sanctioned it here. And to be honest, I was really just waiting for someone to pick it up. I thought the casino was going to pick it up and waited almost a year. And I own a couple other businesses. And I just kind of felt like, well, I then found out that actually nobody was pursuing it and that Carlos over at Clip was maybe going to put a kickboxing show on, but nothing for actual Muay Thai with elbows and sweeps, which was what I enjoyed. So I just kind of felt like there was a hole in the market, and I really just did it for my teammates and for the sport itself is why I got into it.
I love that, though, because like we were talking about a little bit before we hit the button, man, like I come from Mash Gym and Warrior Way and Fuse and all those guys, so I got to train a little bit with Métis from Dragon Leg Muay Thai and Big Don, like we talked about, who's over there at Proving Grounds now too. And I've always had a respect for Muay Thai, but like you said, you never really saw a lot of fights around here, like you said, because of dealing with the legalization. It's the same thing. I've been around since before MMA got legalized here as well. So it's not too crazy to hear that was the same thing we were dealing with in kickboxing. Mm-hmm. But now that you guys have brought Mitten Muay Thai, what made now the right time for that to come around, and what's going to make the action that we're seeing at Mitten Muay Thai stick out from all the stuff we might see with MMA or boxing?
So, I mean, first off, the sport itself is growing really rampant. I feel like this is like, I can't remember exactly when, but like there was like kind of like a verge of jiu-jitsu where it was like nobody was doing it. It was like few and far in between, and then it just blew up. I think we're seeing that in Muay Thai now. Like even in our Muay Thai program, 2 years ago it got started, and there was only 8 of us in it, and now we have like 170 members. So
Wow.
you're just seeing a lot of popularity around Muay Thai, and the people who watch Muay Thai and love Muay Thai, if you know them, they're diehard Muay Thai people. They don't watch MMA. They don't watch boxing. It's a completely different realm, and they want to go out and watch fights. And us being the platform for that is what's going to do it, you know?
Yeah. I mean,
Speaking of the devil and in he walks.
we had talked a little bit before we had went live about like what one championship and stuff like that's helping do with the rise of Muay Thai in the States and stuff like that, and just helping bring attention to it. And it's got to be such a good feeling, like you're saying, coming from it as somebody who's competed, but also a fan of the sport, to help kind of bring interest to the sport in this, you know, in the Mitten State. And then, like you said, also before we went live, to have a little better turnout than you were expecting on that first one. It shows, like you were saying, that there is interest in the state already to begin with. So if you can continue to grow on that, I mean, the ball's rolling, you know?
And those 4-ounce gloves, I really think, is the biggest thing we're going to need to penetrate it, to make it compete with MMA or boxing. I just think that's going to be the barrier that we're going to have to jump, because I 10-ounce glove Muay Thai has been around for forever, but the popularity of Muay Thai really hasn't came around until one championship brought in those 4-ounce gloves.
I like it as far as in a Muay Thai setting. You know, we've seen a little bit of that with BKFC and the stuff they've been doing in Thailand, where they're having bare knuckle Muay Thai with knees and stuff as well. I mean, a lot of people say that it's brutal, man, but to me, when you're really around fighting and really around the sport, bro, it's just something to watch, and it makes it so much more clean. It makes things, you know, so much more technique based. And like we've talked about before, I feel like Muay Thai, if given enough gas under it, you know, we see Glory Kickboxing and Bellator has kind of had a little bit of a kickboxing thing, but like you said, never really like a straight up like Muay Thai promotion. So I feel like if that could get popping with, you know, just the pure action that comes from a Muay Thai event, I feel like Mitten Muay Thai's got plenty of room to grow and make its own niche here in the state. But, you know, with Jerry talking about MMT1, talk to me about that event. What were some of the, what were some of the big takeaways from that event? What are some of the big things that you've learned with it? And what do you think MMT2 is going to bring to the table?
So MMT01, well, first off, we talked about before the show, the first takeaway we got was that it's not just us. You know, there is a ton of interest around the sport. That was really exciting to see and really inspired us to try to push this to the next level. For the first event, I mean, I have no experience, and that was the first event I ever threw. I've never thrown a party or anything prior. So we kind of hired top of the line, everybody who was really experienced to put that first show together. But I still think there was quite a bit of flaws within the production. So we did a lot of upgrades for our next event. Lighting was a big thing that we wanted to change. We kind of had these like 4 bars surrounding it with the lighting. We put the big cage around the ring for this next event. And this is what you guys are going to see from all of our future shows. We're going to continue to try to make the production and just the overall experience better, and just make sure we can capture as much of that event on film as possible so we can really tell the story online too. This is going to probably be a lifetime of improvement, but that's the number one takeaway we took from throwing our first show. And I think that's it from there.
Just to hear that you have that mentality of always want to chasing improvement, that's a good thing leading into this combat sports that frankly isn't always taken that way by some of the promoters. But I mean, like you were saying, with the success of that first event, man, it's got to be a good feeling of what you can continue to build upon, like I was saying earlier, in this state. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, I mean, to be honest, when I first hopped into it, my mindset was like, we're going to throw some shows for, you know, just for the community, like us Muay Thai guys, you know, and I wasn't expecting much out of this. And so with that support, it just inspires us to try to push it to a bigger level. I'm like talking about other promotions. I mean, I don't mean to hate on anybody, but in the Muay Thai realm specifically, I don't think there's anyone in America doing Muay Thai promotions even halfway right. I mean, the barrier of entry to compete with these guys, I believe right now is so low that you can half-ass the hell out of your promotion and beat them out. So I think there's going to be – I don't think there's any reason we can't push to be at a national level really quickly. And then that's honestly not even where I want to compete at. I want to compete at an international level because I think the national level is going to be so easy to beat out.
Wow, that's good to hear. And is that why you're so focused on taking the next steps in production and quality and stuff like that, like you were saying?
Yes, and it needs to look, it needs to look top tier, and then we need to find a way to make us stand out. The first event, the production of it, I think it was far better than if you go watch the post fights on YouTube. I think it was far better than a lot of first shows or even guys who've been in it for a long time, just amateur shows on YouTube. Mm-hmm. But it wasn't PFL or it wasn't UFC. It wasn't close, And that comes down to lighting and camera operators and the pre-planning of everything and just the team in general. So I think we're really behind the curve there, and we need to improve that. And then we can find a way to stand out, things like you guys were talking about karate combat, and we're studying all the productions and taking notes. And, they do unique things there as far as like you're fighting on a fucking moon or like they have the coolest productions there.
It's great.
And then they're like, you're allowed to buy in with fighters with crypto and stuff. They're very innovative fight promotion, and we're going to try to, once we can get to like an industry standard, we're going to try to find ways to innovate as well.
That's something that we talked about. For those of you guys who are new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button. We talked about that with Sam Alvey, who is still your karate combat heavyweight champion. That headbutt was gnarly. I didn't even notice it at first, being the fact that I was at GCW at Harpo's and I'm just watching the fight and I'm like, oh no, shit. And then I seen the replay and I'm like, damn, he ate that guy's whole, like the top of his head, like straight to the chin. And I was like, all right, they got to call this a headbutt. So I'm sure they're going to run that back. But I say that to say, that's one of the things that he spoke about on the show with us, is that the atmosphere of where they're fighting was so cool. Like for them to be fighting out on the beach in Mexico this time. And then, like you said, the one that looked like they were fighting on Area 51 and shit.
Yeah.
And, under the statue and shit. It was like, you couldn't, how you're saying like things to make your production stand out. And I had heard, I believe it was Boss Rutan in a podcast talking about it, because he works, the desk for them and does a lot of stuff behind the scenes for them. And, he was saying like a lot of their events that are on the moon and stuff, like they're really just in a warehouse that's just the production level's that high that you don't notice any of the weirdness. It's just in some back alley industrial yard, but really they just turn this building into something for one event, and they do an amazing job of it. They really do.
Yeah, they're great.
Hell yeah, man. I definitely want to see where they go with it. I got to tell you, though, GSP on commentary, though, man, that was that.
I didn't hear it. How was it?
The mix of voices that they bring in with Boss and freaking GSP. It's an interesting. I mean, it's an interesting mix of commentary, that's for sure. And then you got Robin Black in between with his animations.
I've already given my feelings on Robin Black before on this show, so I won't go into that. But
the passion's real. Hey, like him or not, the passion's real.
I'm not saying that it's not, man, but the amount of times that I've watched this guy do commentary, and then somebody will be like in mount, like beating the shit out of somebody, and be like, he should just stand up. I'm like, what? Why? Like, wait a minute. He's got him up against the cage hitting him. Explain to me why I shouldn't get up right now. But hey, that's a story for another time. As far as GSP on commentary, I'm not going to lie. It's entertaining as shit, because watching him try to articulate it, because anyone that has half a brain and knows who he is knows he's one of the greatest of all time. But it's entertaining because he'll be like trying to articulate like the action as it's going down in the fight. and he'll get stumped for a minute, and he'll be trying to like figure out how to word out his thought as he's going. And so some of that is just entertaining to me because now that I've gotten to do it, like there's definitely times where you'll like have a whole thought and I'll be just going, and then somebody will get hit with a shot and you're like, oh shit. And all I can think to say is like, he hit him with whatever it is. So hearing him do that with the French accent is pretty entertaining to me. But I love hearing Boss Rutan on commentary as well too, because I've always said he's like one of the underrated minds as far as MMA and in this case karate combat and striking. So I like hearing him on there. And then Corey, what's my man's name that's on there with him? Chris, wasn't it Chris or something like that?
No, I believe so. I can't think of it at the moment.
Yeah, dude. So they got a third guy who's like, where he's from? Wasn't he from Jake Paul's or Logan Paul's podcast thing?
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah, okay, that's it. It's one of the guys from Logan Paul's podcast. So like that guy's like the far left that doesn't like know shit about like the overall commentary of it. So it's a weird dynamic, but at the same time it's like entertaining because like you never really know what the hell's going to come out of it, and I can see like Boss get frustrated sometimes.
That's kind of how we're going to be setting up commentary a little similar with putting a like. So we have Kid L. I don't know if you know who that is, but he runs a podcast in Michigan and pretty popular one. But he knows nothing about combat sports, and he's a comedian.
Oh, yeah.
He'll be commentating, you'll be commentating, and then a guy who's super, super dedicated to Muay Thai will be commentating. It'll be a mix of everybody.
Hell yeah! Then I feel like this is gonna be fun then, because this is gonna be fun. Hell yeah! I'm liking this already. I'm down to see some fights. I'm down to see some knockouts. I'm liking it. Well, so talk to me about this May 3rd event now. So you're doing it Cinco de Mayo weekend, or was it in the sphere of Cinco de Mayo? I've seen some of the matchups. I've already seen a lot of hype on some of said matchups. Talk to me about what we got going down May the 3rd. What are some of the fights off rip that you guys have announced that you think are going to be ones that are going to take the show on the 3rd?
Okay, so first off, we got main event, Carlos Cerda versus Keaton Miller. There's been a lot of beef and words going back and forth. I'm sure you guys might have seen that. They're going to be fighting for a 5-round title fight for the 135-pound belt. Carlos fought on our last show. He got a first-round knockout with a spear elbow. So Keaton has a really flashy kind of Sugar Sean, Conor McGregor style. He talks a lot of shit. He's a really interesting character, you know. And Carlos is kind of he's this Mexican fighter who has the like true Mexican style. He just comes forward and throws the entire time. That one's going to be an absolute banger. I know that. It's going to be entertaining leading up to it as well. I haven't announced this fight yet, but I just signed contracts today. So we are going to be having Reese Kelly. He is a pro Muay Thai fighter. He's going to be fighting Austin Tweedy. Austin Tweedy, he fought in the UFC.
I was going to say, I know that name.
Yeah, he's 12-4 as a pro. This is probably going to be the biggest step up in competition for Reese. This is definitely not an easy fight for him, especially because Austin is a massive fucking tank who cuts a lot of weight to get to 155, and Reese is actually a true 145er, and they're doing it at 155. So this is going to be a really tough fight and a really big test for Reese. I'm really excited for that. Joey Colli, he is fighting Terry Fox. Terry Fox is 6-2 in Minnesota, and Joey Colli is 4-1. I truly believe Joey Colli is the best 155 to 160 pound fighter in Michigan, if not in the Midwest. His lack of fights does not tell his skill level. He can hang in there with really high level pros in Muay Thai, I think. And Terry's going to be his biggest step up in competition. Terry's 6-2 and not in a bullshit organization. He fights in Prime. So those guys have some dogs in there. I'm really excited for that fight. And then all these fights are bangers. We have like Mark Nikai. He's coming up. He's going to be a star. He's training 5 hours a day. He has the personality. his last 2 fights. Right before the fight, he said second round knockout. He went in there and knocked him out in the second round. And then we have Tai Bin. He has been training for 4 years in Thailand. He had a nasty knee knockout against James Glazier last fight. He's going to be fighting Jared Calloway, which is also a huge step up in competition. I really think this whole card, at least the main card, is filled with just complete bangers.
Now, talk me through. Are you the one doing the matchmaking?
Yes, I'm doing all the matchmaking right now.
It sounded like it, because it sounded like you were very knowledgeable on these fighters and the fights taking place. Talk me through, now that the promotion's at the level of starting to make championship fights and move people up like the provisional rankings of the organization and stuff to get to the level of, potentially fighting for your belts. What's your thought process through all that?
So, I mean, I might be biased, but I think matchmaking, and Dana White says his interview, is the most critical part of the process, because at the end of the day, with the production and everything, when people go there and watch, the only thing that matters is what happens in that ring. Yeah. So you don't want guys sitting in there and playing tag. And from our first show, everybody came in and fought their hearts out, and I matched those fights what I thought accordingly, like that would happen. And so that matchmaking process, we're just trying to put on really good fights. We want guys who are going to go in there and put their heart in. And then I think the certain styles is really what makes the fights too. So, Reese is a karate style movement guy, and he's fighting Austin Tweedy, who's like a heavy-handed pressure fighter. So that's going to make up for a guy who's just coming forward and another guy who's throwing a bunch of spinning shit. It just comes for a really cool spectacle.
Right.
That was what I wanted to ask you about. As anybody that's been following the show knows, we just had Reese on before his last fight in MMA, and fresh off of his last fight for you guys. Tell me what it is about Reese that you think he brings to the table that keeps making people seem to want to come see this kid fight. Because, man, there were a lot of people, even when I was there at Motor City Casino, that said that they had tuned in just to watch that episode with Reese, and that they're all really looking forward to seeing what this kid can do inside the ring.
Reese is a next level fucking striker, man. He is dangerous. He is one of my training partners, and you cannot hit this kid. I mean, he just styles on you the entire round. He's been training since a little kid. His mom and dad were black belts, and all of his uncles were professional boxers. He's been training since he was like 3 years old. He is just, and he puts in the work like nobody else. He's always the hardest working guy in the room, and he trains all the time. So I really think there's something special about Reese. He is mostly a striker. I don't know if I should put all his business out there, but I know he competes in MMA for, the potential financial side of it. If you make it big in MMA, you're making serious money. If you make it big in Muay Thai, the money is not necessarily there yet. But he is truly a striker, just trying to avoid wrestlers. So I think that's what, makes him so special. And that's what I love, being able to have him compete in Muay Thai and display his striking skills without any wrestling interference.
Yeah. Get to see him at his truest potential.
Yeah.
So we got questions in the comments. Shout out to our guy, John Timothy, over there at State of Pro Wrestling out of Minnesota. Where can he check out the prior fights at, man?
Right on YouTube. Just type in Mitten Muay Thai. They should pop up.
Hell yeah, man. John doing some things and helping us link some stuff out. If you guys are from the pro wrestling side of things, make sure you're staying tuned Mania Week, because me and J-Bone are going to sit down and do a pretty cool interview tomorrow with a certain WWE Hall of Famer. So make sure you hit the subscribe button for that. But now that we've talked a little bit about that and talked about Reese and all those things, talk to me. Now that we've talked about this May 3rd event and some of the fights that people need to be paying attention to, dude, I got to address the elephant in the room. Dude, I saw $20,000 fights getting thrown around in the IG stories. And, bro, what is the story with this whole P-Dot fight, bro?
Yeah, we'll break it down. So, okay, so P-Dot was originally Reese's opponent. Reese had So we had a contract worked out with Reese, like with the matchmaking process. I won't go into all the details of the contracts and whatnot, but we originally agreed on a number, and there was some previous issues with the gym that he trains at and the gym that I'm affiliated with. His coach didn't want him to take the fight for that amount of money, so we renegotiated. We came to a new term, which was 2.5 times the money of the original contract. We agreed to that. And then about a week later, before he would sign the contract, he ended up wanting more percentage of ticket sales and more free tickets. I ended up agreeing again to raising his contract for the third time. I wanted confirmation for the contract. He didn't give it to me. Another couple days go by, and he requests more out of me. And so we were already going to lose money on this fight. We knew it. We did the math, and we knew we were going to lose money, but we wanted to make good fights happen. So we decided to go through with it anyways. And P-Dot decided he wasn't happy with the arrangement, requesting more. I told him that this is my final offer. This is all I'm accepting. A few days went on. He never accepted the offer. I pulled the fight. This made him very upset. He went over to social media, made a lot of posts about us, about how we're scamming fighters and just in it for the money. Our PR wanted to write an article about what was going on since he was blasting us on the thing. We told her what happened. It got an article published about him. He was really not happy about that. So he called me out to fight me. He said, I'm a fighter, so why don't I fight him? I do fight at a much bigger weight class. He's probably 170 pounds. I fight at 200. So, I told him that if he wanted to, I'd go pro and we could make the fight happen.
Man, I saw all the stuff going back and forth in the stories, and you hear John in the comments. This is better backstories than pro wrestling. Hey, man, I've always said this. You hear people say it all the time. Everything is pro wrestling. This is why I say this on the show all the time. This is why people enjoy the fights more when there's a little bit of shit talking, or there's a little bit of a reason why these guys want to fight, or they was ex-teammates or whatever. Whatever the given backstory is on a fight, I don't know what it is. Those fights always seem to draw better. But yeah, dude, I saw that and I had to come give you the chance to say your piece with this because I'm like, what
now
in the
I have
hell?
Every fighter in Michigan calling me out, saying I've probably had 50 fighters asked to fight me for the money now. I was like, hey, that guy's
Why? Because you said you'd fight him for 20 racks? Oh, man.
I go, you guys are confused. I said 20 racks if he wins or he gets nothing.
I saw that. No, I peeped it. I told Corey, he said he'd fight him for 20 racks, and if he loses, he gets nothing.
He better owe you some money if he loses. That's all I'm saying.
I mean, well, one thing with MMT, these things happen with all the different promotions. But one thing we plan to do is we're going to put everything out there. Nothing is going to be secret. If there's some drama, there's some issues with the contract, we're going to be putting it right out on social media. Our own ref made a poor call, kind of got a guy to lose a fight. He slipped, and the ref called it a knockdown. We made a reel of it and put it right on Instagram. If I make a mistake, anyone makes a mistake, there's nothing safe. If it's entertaining, we're going to put it on social media.
Uh-oh, we got questions in there. He said, where are you at? Where's he at? Do you think P-Dot will take it?
No, I don't think so. P-Dot, we'll see. He got to get up for us to make it happen, like legally, because we need to be within a certain weight of each other. He needs to get up to 200 pounds. So he needs to gain like 35 pounds. I would happily take the fight. So
I'm clarifying for shout out to our guy Drew Murray in the comments. He goes, "Did I hear somebody say 20K?"
Yeah, I've had a lot of that. I was like, "Oh, we'll see." At the end of the day, it's attention, right?
Yeah,
man, you better be careful. You throwing out paychecks like that, you're gonna be getting every motherfucker in Michigan coming.
They gotta win though. I'm only taking fights that I guaranteed I went and watched your footage. I know you cannot touch me. That's the only fight I'm taking. I'm not taking no hard fights. I'm gonna be
Great.
Jake Paul.
Man, so you're saying P-Dot ain't gonna be no problem, huh?
No, I think that would be an extremely easy fight for me.
Man, anybody that knows how this show goes, boy, does it have a habit of motherfuckers seeing things like that. So make sure you guys stay hit that subscribe button so you can watch the comments. This show has a habit of things happening like that. But all right, now that we've gotten that out of the way and talking about fights that to you know, their point, I said everything is pro wrestling. You got to tell me, bro, what are your thoughts as a Muay Thai guy on Mike Tyson versus Jake Paul, bro?
I think I have an unpopular opinion. I think, all right, there's a couple opinions. I think ultimately, first off, I think it's a little stupid for Mike to hop in there at that age, because I think your life is more important than any amount of money you're going to get paid for this. And fighting is very dangerous. Like casuals watch it, but they don't know the underlying issues of brain damage and brain bleeds. I've had 6 concussions myself through fighting, so it's not good for you, especially at 58 years old with some guy who hits as hard as Jake Paul. So I hope that Mike gets through this safely. I don't think it's necessarily a bad matchup. I think people forget that Jake Paul only has, 8 fights? He doesn't have any amateur fights. He doesn't have the ring experience. He doesn't have the composure. I've never seen him have very good composure in a fight. Mike will bring that ring experience, and power is something that is built off of a couple things. First off, genetics, and second off, mechanics. The speed is going to fade for Mike. But with power and mechanics, I think Mike will still hit like a fucking truck. And I think Jake will have a speed advantage. Mike will have a power advantage. I think Jake will have more endurance and Mike will have more ring experience. So I don't think the matchup is terrible. I do think it's dangerous, but I don't think it's terrible.
I mean, when you say it like that, yeah, I guess. But my man sells weed. He sells vapes. He sells rolling papers. He sells everything. He don't need to be still selling himself in the ring out there. You know what I mean?
100%. I agree that no amount of money is going to be worth the damage he could potentially.
My whole thing is this. I feel like, and I'll say just like we said on the show with Drop Zone talking about it. So I think skill wise, to your point, the mechanics, the muscle memory, just the overall skill that Mike Tyson had. Yes, he will not be as fast as he was back then, but like you said, the explosiveness and the timing, I believe skill wise, he's still better than Jake Paul. But like I said, when we were breaking this fight down when they first announced it, what scares me is Mike taking a shot. Like that, That's the thing. At 57 years old, bro, you get tagged, and there's no 2 ways about that. Like I mean, there's nothing else to say. There's nothing else to do. If there's one thing that you can say about Jake Paul after the whole thing with Tyron Woodley, whether you want to say it's rigged or whatever it was, look, he got knocked the fuck out. That's all I know.
100%.
And so at some point, he's got to have some kind of power to him. Do I think skill for skill, if Mike's able to get into him, he could still get him? Sure. But I really worry about what happens when he gets hit with a shot. Now, the other interesting thing to this fight to me is I haven't heard anything confirmed about it. Maybe one of you guys has, but I've heard that they've been talking about that it's going to be in headgear and shit too. Does that not fuck things up for Jake Paul kind of in a way, since we've said all his fights are quote unquote pro fights, and now this one's going to be.
If this is in headgear, this will be the biggest this will be the biggest disappointment level thing for Netflix and stuff to
But have you guys not heard that though?
I have heard that. I heard one of them was.
But I heard it was from Derek Chisora or some shit. So it was from a boxer basically just kind of shitting on it more so than it was from actual media or anything like that. But That being said, if that is actually the case, if it ends up being a glorified sparring match or something like that, yeah, that's going to be a absolutely huge disappointment. I think a lot of people would tune in and then immediately be like, I'm not even wasting my time with this, shit. So I don't know. I don't see it going that way. But to what you guys were saying, I've seen Jake Paul beat up enough old guys now that I'm kind of sick of that whole gimmick. And also, like you're saying, Tyson's not just some old guy. He's very skilled. He's got years of training and stuff like that. But he's actually the oldest of the bunch, if I'm not mistaken. So I'm come on, like if we're gonna see Tyson in there, get somebody.
Like when they did the Roy Jones joint, I thought that was
Yeah.
more than fair. Roy Jones is older too. You know what I mean? Like that was cool.
I was watching a podcast talking about this particular thing, and I forget who it was, but they said they looked up the date. That Roy Jones fight was 4 years ago.
Damn, really?
Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Pandemic really does make time fly.
Time goes by quick, boys. And, that wasn't the best version of Mike Tyson we've seen ever. And that was 4 years ago. So,
from Jake Paul's perspective, I feel like at the end of the day, professional fighting is about making money.
Yeah,
it should be, to be honest. It's very dangerous, and it should be about getting paid. And Jake Paul obviously hopped in this never with the intentions to pursue legacy. He hopped in it as a YouTuber to get real big money. I don't see anything wrong with what he's doing. Has us talking about it. We're going to tune in and watch that fucking fight, no matter if we think it's stupid or not. We're going to watch that fight. That's going to bring him money. And I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I think it's a little stupid for Mike. I think it's dangerous for Mike. He has enough money. He doesn't need to do it. But as far as Jake, hey, you can get old guys with that much legacy and fan base to fight you. Go ahead and do it. Go get your money.
Yeah. I don't disagree with you. My criticism, like you say, is more levied at Mike Tyson than it is Jake Paul in this circumstance. I feel like, to your point, you take the matchups that are the biggest. I mean, this is because it's on Netflix and they're saying they're not charging for it, it's just part of the subscription. This is going to be one of the biggest viewed combat sports events ever.
You're not wrong.
You know what I mean? It very well might even be number one at the end of the 100%. Day. And to be able to, like you say, get the bag and also have the most eyes while doing it, taking on these legends, you can't argue with that from the Jake Paul perspective. It's just, like I say, come on, man. Mike Tyson, man, you got enough products out there. Quit selling yourself, guys,
Well, and too, to go with that, how many fighters have we heard now from our homie Ken Robles out there in New York to people that have been connected with the Serrano sisters that have come on here that have said that how well Jake Paul has taken care of the people that he promotes now. That's the other thing. The guy, my view of him as a whole has changed. I still am a little bit, like you said, to the point where I'm a little bit tired of seeing it always be like the old washed up retired fighter that he's getting in there with. But as far as to what he's done, I mean, look, man, like we talked about and like John said in the comments, you can call it pro wrestling, you can call it whatever you want, but it's basic. It really is basic pro wrestling mindset when you break it down. He's the asshole that everybody wants to see get beat up. And Jake Paul's smart enough to know that whether you're tuning in to watch me get my ass kicked, or you're tuning in because you want to see me put this guy down, you're still paying to watch it. And at the end of the day, look, dude, that's pro wrestling 101. Look at Ric Flair. They all paid to see him get the shit beat out of him. That's the truth. So, I mean, I am with you as far as I'm not mad at the guy's hustle. And I've said it on this show on multiple occasions, his brother being smart enough to go over there to WWE. And I've been at a good, portion of his matches from his debut match to what he did here at SummerSlam. And I was at WrestleMania last year as well. Take what you want, take what you will from the Paul brothers. But all I can say is this. the both of them, Logan and Jake, as far as just being an athlete, I won't take shit away from that because the shit that I've seen Logan do is insane. So I feel like a lot of it, people just hate on it because they're just hating on it. Like I said, from a fighter's point of view, I would like to see him start to fight some more, like legit people. But at the same time, with the fights that they're already rumoring for what could come after that, I mean, like you said, if you can keep getting these to go on pay-per-view like that, and he's going to get paid money like that, son of a bitch, dude. Like I can't be mad at you. Like if I'm getting paid a check like that, I can't be mad at it. Although I still do like the idea of, since he's got that part ownership of PFL, if there's any truth to the rumor that they might have him and Nate Diaz fight in an MMA fight, I'd love to see Nate kick his ass.
That'd be fucking awesome.
I'd love to see that happen. I'm just trying to throw that out into the universe. But I wanted to ask you about this because this is something that is very possible that could happen in an MMT ring as well. So last week on the UFC, we saw my man's like bite into this dude's bicep. First of all, what are your thoughts on that? And second of all, if that happens in MMT, what's going down?
Well, I mean, I would hate to say that, like, there's like a side of things that's like where you're just like, it's all about entertainment, right? So something like that happens, it brings viewership, it brings attention. Sweet. Like, that's awesome, right? Even though it's illegal and wrong and bad sportsmanship, like, if I'm just being honest here, like, every promoter is going to feel that. There's another side, though, that we have to deal with the state commission, and we have to deal with regulation. And if things like that happen, we end up getting a bad look on us. Things become a lot harder on us. So if something like that happens, I mean, we're never going to let them fight again for us.
I could imagine, too, being the first organization, you're kind of bearing some pressure, being that you're trying to represent essentially Muay Thai to the state representatives and stuff like that, that the sports board or whatever you want to, call them.
The commission, guy. Yeah. Come on. You watch enough fights.
I know. I couldn't spit the word out.
You're killing me, Smalls.
Yeah, we have to set the standard for Michigan Muay Thai, and we're already requesting rule changes. So for us to receive the things we want and have a long working relationship with them, we're going to have to work with them. We're gonna make things clean.
What was crazy about that whole situation is, like, if you were really watching that fight, like, dude, that was a pretty, like, even fight. Like, they were both, like, doing really well, not just in the striking, but the grappling and the reversals and all that shit. So, like, when that happened, I'm like, but why'd you bite him? Yeah, it wasn't like you were getting beat up. Usually when somebody bites somebody, it's either because I just fucking hate you or, like, I'm losing and I need to do something.
Like, fighters at that level I've just trained with fighters and met fighters at that level where that competitive drive is like nothing you've ever seen in anyone else, where it's
no, I agree.
They're dying for it. So any slight disadvantage, like, it overwhelms them with anger,
Dude, it was just, and what was wild too is it was both of them's debut fight. So my man's debut fight in there, you're having a good performance. Now you bit the guy and got cut all in one fell swoop, just done.
Yeah, you're tripping, honestly.
Dude, that sucks. And then think about it on the other side of it. If you're my man's that got bit, first of all, as a guy who's got a few tattoos, I respect my man's getting that tattooed on him. Like, when I saw that, I was like, oh shit, he really got it tattooed. But then what's crazy about it, big ups to the UFC for this, because I think it's 100% like worth it happening. Like, yeah, he got the DQ win, so he got his 2 checks, but dude, I think it's dope that he got the bite of the night bonus. Like, they made a whole graphic for it and everything.
It's genius. They're not the best promotion in the world by accident,
Yeah.
Hey man, I just hope that doesn't start. Hey, bro, he bit me. He bit me. I want 50K. Yeah, he bit me. I want 50K. I got bit. Does that mean I get 50,000 too?
That's he dug deep in his pocket for that move, because that's not something you see every day. I've been watching fights for years. I haven't seen that since the no holds barred type of days, you know?
Well, what was crazy, because at first, before they zoomed in on it, it actually did look like, like when you get somebody, like if you got a rear naked choke and your arm kind of like slides across where their mouth is, and you're kind of like more so like cross facing them versus like choking them. Like I've seen that where you'll get like mouth guard marks on your arms. Like hell, I've had that happen before. But like there's a difference between mouth guard marks and when my man holds his arm up and like it's like indented into his bicep. Like dog, his teeth are indented into his bicep, and you're trying to tell me that you just rubbed your mouth guard against him.
Yeah.
Come on.
I wonder if you heard he was going to get away with it.
You heard the commentary team even bring it up, like you were saying, Kyle, like the same type of deal. Like, oh, we've seen it in chokes and stuff like that before, and we've seen.
And that's what I'm saying. And like, that's understandable, but
and they were saying like, oh, maybe the ref should have gave him a hard warning because it didn't appear to really affect the fight. If you were listening to the commentary,
hard warning,
that's what they were saying. That's what, and then the second he lifted his arm, they literally were like, oh, never mind. That was actually
No,
like their whole
eye
mood,
gouges, instant disqualification.
Yeah, their whole mood changed real quick after seeing the damage that was left by the bite on that one.
And like I said, you would have been able to tell if it were something like that. But especially in the position they were in, there was no other way he gets a bite that way. Unless you bit him, dog. My question is, did he just spit his mouthpiece out and just like, it's like, fuck it. Yeah. And just tries to bite my man's arm off. Like, dude, like, I didn't even see where he lost his mouthpiece. That's why when I saw how deep it was, I'm like, damn, he really bit him. So he had to like take his mouthpiece out. If you did that with a mouthpiece in, you got some strong ass teeth. Like, I'm just saying. But I don't know, man. That's wild. To Ace's point, I haven't seen anything like that since Tyson bit off Holyfield's ear. I've seen somebody's ear get ripped off, but that was Cactus Jack. That wasn't Tyson Holyfield. That was because he got his head caught in the ear. Well, Phil, last question I got for you before I let you get up out of here. We've obviously got a few people in the comments who are a little bit newer to the Muay Thai world. If you could recommend anything good for people to watch so that they know what they're getting into before we get to Mitten Muay Thai 3, May 3rd, which, like I said, we'll have some more episodes leading up to that to help promote that and bringing some more light on that. But if you could recommend anything to people to watch for the Muay Thai side of things, what would it be?
I think if you go on YouTube and type in One Championship Rod Tang, or One Championship John Haggerty, you'll be a fan.
Yeah,
I'm not mad at that.
Haggerty's current run's been real entertaining to watch, that's for sure.
Beautiful style, fucking aggressive, but very technical. I fucking love him.
And it's one thing, too, for anybody who isn't maybe as well acquainted with Muay Thai and stuff, and that I have really come to appreciate, being that I was more of an MMA fan that tuned in to One Championship just because it was on YouTube. It was more fights to watch. And then all of a sudden they started adding Muay Thai and kickboxing and stuff like that more into my arsenal, I guess you could say. And yeah, I mean, just the tradition and the respect and honor and stuff like you see in MMA fights and stuff like that, the handshakes and the stuff like that after the fights and stuff like that. But just like the opening ceremonies and stuff that they do for the Muay Thai and stuff like that, you can tell that it's such a big thing. It's a national sport over there in Thailand, and they really treat it as such when they put on these shows. So for anybody that I've said it many times myself, for anybody that doesn't check out One Championship, make sure you tune in, because a lot of times, like you say, it's either YouTube or it's Amazon. It's real easy to find. But
yeah.
Jared Brooks got robbed. I just want to throw that out there. But
He did get fucking robbed. dude.
I'm just saying, I'm sticking by what I said, and anybody that heard what I said, feel free to
Andrade
come
won a
talk to
belt
us
off
at
that,
KO3C Pod. My Twitter handle is up there as well at Detroit Knockout. I've had a lot of people coming in my DMs talking about, oh, you don't know the sport. Dude, in every rules meeting I've ever been in my entire life, they tell you one thing above all else: you are supposed to protect yourself at all times. And if you are holding on to a submission and you hold on to said submission and get dumped on your head and you don't protect yourself because you hold on to said submission, then sir, that is your fault.
Yeah,
especially
retarded.
in an MMA rule set. I stick by what I said. It wasn't like he hit him with a tombstone pile driver. How damn it.
I think that's the way the rules were meant to be read. Is you're not supposed to, like you say, Kyle, intentionally slam them directly on their head, not defending yourself from a submission attempt and slamming them down. That's
well, and he wouldn't have landed on his head had he let go of it to be able to brace himself.
That's what I'm saying. It's a completely different thing. So, yeah, shout out our boy Jared Brooks. It sucked to see.
You still got to come back on the show, my man. We'll have to hook that up once you get it going. But, dude, we definitely got to do this again, Phil. We'll definitely run something before we get to May the 3rd. Like I said, tomorrow night, 9 p.m., we've got the return of the American Kaiju herself, the only female winner of Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. She's stepping back into that tournament April 4th, Thursday, Philly. You know, I got to put my money on the homie, but she's not coming alone. She's bringing her manager, Ayla Fox, the wife of A.R. Fox. We've known Ayla for a long time. We'll talk about her. We'll talk about the Skulk. We'll talk about everything that's going on there. When the next time Lindsay's going to tattoo me, and hopefully I'll win some more money while I'm in the chair like it was Jacksonville. So until next time and in the in-between time, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you check out Mitten Muay Thai May 3rd. Peace.